and I would call upon our first speaker to join us on the podium. He is the Joint Taoiseach of the Northern Executive, Martin McGuinness, MLA. Gula Boss Mór Raibh Martin.
Well, G.E. agus Majin Wai, Muharja. It always seems impossible until it's done. So said the former South African President Nelson Mandela. And while he was clearly talking about the great struggle for liberation in South Africa, his words are as relevant to those of us here involved in 40 years of unbroken struggle. Impossible, unachievable, and undeliverable are not words that are part of our vocabulary, because we are the doers, we are the achievers, and we are the deliverers. Politics for us is not about gaining political strength just for the sake of it. Politics for us is about how we use that strength. And we are the only political party in this state putting forward a sensible and coherent alternative to the failed politics of austerity, introduced by Féin and slavishly followed by the coalition. You see, being in government is about making choices which impact directly on people's lives. And I say that as somebody who jointly leads a coalition. We chose not to have water charges. The government here made a different choice. We support free universal health care. The government here made a different call. We chose to invest hundreds of millions in new school builds and in capital projects to stimulate the economy and boost the construction industry. We chose to break from Westminster and protect the EMA, the Educational Maintenance Allowance, payments to young people in education. And we refused to raise student fees. And there are countless other examples of choices we chose to make, be it investment in new sports stadia, the development of the Long Cash site, which will see the RUES open up their operation just in a few weeks' time, and of course the building of the Peace Building and Conflict Resolution Centre, which also will begin within a few short months. The Rates Relief Scheme for small businesses, our investment in health, and that within the constraints that we work without the necessary fiscal powers. So don't be fooled by the efforts of some in this state who claim, as they do, not to have any choice in the decisions that they make. Everyone in government has choices to make. John O'Dowd in education made the choice to invest £180 million in new schools. But that's only part of the picture. What we're about in education is raising standards and ensuring every child reaches their full potential. And of course, in two recent surveys, the standard of primary education in the North came out top of all the countries in the English-speaking world. I would like to think that my stint as Education Minister, Katrina Ryan's stint as Education Minister, and now John O'Dowd's stint as Education Minister made some contribution to that. And so if we can get that right, it is appropriate to appeal again to unionists to seriously look again at this issue. Simply not credible for them to complain, as they have in recent months, about educational underachievement in the Protestant working class, and then stand up and defend the very system of academic selection at 11 which delivers this. And people living in those areas also need to make their voices heard. Does mainstream unionism really represent your views on this and a raft of other issues? So I also wish to commend the efforts of our Agriculture Minister, Michelle O'Neill, who had to deal with recent unprecedented snow and a very grave weather crisis. Her prompt action undoubtedly helped alleviate some of the hardship in what was a totally unprecedented situation. Carol Ní Cullen's LEAFA initiative has hit a chord with people right across Ireland, and it has been particularly encouraging to see people from the traditional unionist background embracing the language. Again, ordinary unionist people taking a lead and waiting on their political leaderships to catch up. It is time for the irrational opposition to the Irish language and culture, which some within political unionism adopt, to come to an end. On that note, I wish to extend an invite to all here and watching at home to visit Derry this year as we celebrate Derry as a city of culture. And in particular, I look forward to Fleadh Cheoil na hÉireann taking place in the north, taking place in Derry for the first time ever in its history. Jennifer McCann, as Junior Minister, has been taking the lead in working with the survivors of his horrific institutional abuse, which took place not just in the 26 counties, but in the north also. And I would appeal to any survivors who have not yet felt able to contact the inquiry to do so. You have a right to justice, and you have a right to have your voice heard. And as Deputy First Minister, I am absolutely committed to achieving justice for all of them. In the coming months, we will be reviewing the operation of the political institutions. We will consider all proposals which have the potential for enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of government. And among these, we include the size of the Assembly, the number of government departments, and the North-South institutions and joint working. We will also be progressing the review of public administration, which involves a new configuration of local council and the formalising of power sharing arrangements in the local government for the first time. And those who hark back to majority rule or believe that the job of government ministers in the north is to deliver for one section of the community will find no comfort in the prospect of the changes that lie ahead. Inclusivity and power sharing are the bedrock of the political institutions in the north. Any proposals for change will be meticulously proofed against both. Enhancing and building confidence in the institutions must mean better delivery for everyone, and it must mean those charged with the responsibility for this delivery fully embracing the principles of equality, mutual respect, and genuine partnership. And as I said last night to the Ardèche, I was absolutely unimpressed by the recent meeting I had with David Cameron. He had no answers on the mess his government has made on the important issue of corporation tax, and he had even less to say on the issue of what has become known as welfare reform. Welfare reform is a misnomer for what is taking place under this Westminster government. What we are witnessing is an attack on the most vulnerable, the sick, the disabled, those who are out of work, because of the coalition's policies, and those on low incomes by a cabinet which is packed full of millionaires. They are being made to pay for the excesses of the wealthy, of the bankers, and the tax dodgers. Let me be clear, Sinn Féin will resist the onslaught on the most vulnerable. We will not tolerate the introduction of a bedroom tax, and we will deploy a petition of concern on this clause in the Assembly if it is brought to the floor. We will not allow the erosion of the hard-won rights of women to be diminished, and we will ensure that they are treated as equal partners in all payments. We will campaign to ensure that people are paid a living wage rather than them having to depend on the state to help ensure a quality of life. And I think the way the British government has approached this issue raises a very important point for all of the executive parties. We need to have a proper and open debate on what is known as parity. It has become increasingly obvious to me that the idea of parity with Westminster doesn't work for people in the north. And not in any grand political way, but in the practical reality of what works in the southeast of England does not work in the northeast of Ireland. So let us have that debate in a sensible, rational way and come to a consensus among the parties in the executive and charting a new way forward. There are, of course, real and significant challenges facing our executive in the time ahead, but I come from that school of thought that believes that no challenge is insurmountable. We are up for real partnership and real engagement, and that is both with those parties inside the political institutions and those outside. I have offered dialogue with those Republicans who are opposed to our strategy. And of course, you may have heard on the news that last night in Derry, that guns and explosives, which are designed to plunge our society back to the past, have been recovered. So I am thankful that no lives have been lost. And my message to people is that we have to continue to support peace. I want to make one other observation. Every now and again you'll see these so-called Republicans parading. And now and again you'll see them on television. And most times people are very interested to see who's there. But I do look too like everybody else. And I look and I see these 50-year-olds, and I see these 40-year-olds, and I see these 35-year-olds, and I don't recognize most of them. You know what I wonder? I wonder where they were when there was a war. I have also sought dialogue with the Orange Order in advance of the marching season. In fact, I wrote to them 6 months ago. I've yet to receive a reply. I wrote to them in the aftermath of them issuing a public statement saying that they hadn't any difficulty with any Orange Lodge in the north of Ireland engaging with local residents groups. That was way last year. My information tells me that not one Orange Lodge has even made any attempt whatsoever to have dialogue or to show respect and treat with dignity local communities in the north. So I repeat my calls today, not just to the Orange Order, but to those so-called Republicans, to make it clear, I want to make it clear to them that there are no closed doors to my office for any section of society. I can defend the position that I come from. I can defend the people that I represent, and I can defend the decisions that people like Jerry Adams and myself and many others took over the course of the last 20 years to try and move this country forward. So I am absolutely confident. Have they got the confidence to come into a room with us? Sadly, thus far, that has not been the case. I'm absolutely confident about the future of this island also, and I'm also confident in our ability to reach new agreements, to build new relationships, and to construct a new republic built on equality. That is the work of Republicans in the here and now. And more people, I believe, are sharing our vision of the future. Those people now need to take the next step and join with us in a peaceful and democratic journey to Irish reunification. Míle maio.